Bit of a wet one today, and a bit of traffic around as well for the beginning of this little walk. But I'm on Lynch Hill in Kensworth. Lynch, Lynch Hill. There's the actual hill there, where with a name like that, I'm guessing there were some gallows up there at some point. Looking over to the south, the old Roman Watling Street down there. But I'm here to see if I can find the source of the River Ver. It's one of those Chiltern chalk streams that are so important and so under threat. Somewhere behind these trees, there's a boggy spring. I'm just going to get down to the gate and see what we can see. Yeah, I think I can actually see it. Just down there, I can see lots of what looks like possibly water irises popping through. Sorry, just there, I wandered then. Just over there, that looks like that's where the water's rising. I can see a big pool over there. And if we look down through there, you can't see it so well on the camera, but it's very boggy down there. Now where I'm standing is the point where this very young River Ver crosses under the road and onto the other side, but it looks dry. We need to get over there. One sec. This particular little bit here, just opposite from where I could see the spring, is actually dry, whilst at the same time we've got a lot of rainwater. Rainwater coming down off of the hill, but where the aquifer water, the water table water for the chalk stream should be, it looks dry. I'm going to have a quick look around the back there. There's a footpath here marked as the Ver Trail. I'm just going to see if there's anything going on. Yeah, there's not actually much in the way of water flow going on at the moment. The very early stages of the Ver are following this hedge line, this tree line here, where there is a sludgy ditch, but this is a particular type of chalk stream known as a winterbourne. Bourne being the old word for a stream, and it is a winterbourne. It comes and goes. It has a high season and a low season, and actually this part isn't even marked on the OS map. I'm guessing because it's not a permanent water source. As you get a bit further down the road towards Margate and Redbourne, it does become permanent water. We're going to head down there in a second and see if we can get our first glimpses of it. But before we go there, I'm going to start straight off with a ghost story. It's just in that direction. There's a pub called the Pack Horse. Let's go and see what's going on there. Excuse the traffic. Here's the Pack Horse pub. It's at least 300 years old, and nobody knows exactly how old it is. Parts of it are older. But back in 1958, there was a minibus containing the cricket team from the Kenwood Manufacturing Company in Surrey, heading south on Watling Street here, back down to Surrey after they'd had a match in Woburn, and their minibus crashed. 2 of them were killed, and ever since then people have quite regularly seen along here at night figures in cricket whites crossing the road. In 1973 actually, a taxi driver very nearly joined them when he had to swerve not to hit them early on a dark Sunday morning. That's one of the better known ghost stories of this area. Now remember, Molly and Annie, there's no such thing as ghosts. You don't have to be scared. These are just silly stories for grown-ups. But just be on the lookout if you ever come down here for people looking like they're going to a game of cricket. Okay, lovely. We found our first bit of flowing water. You can just about make out a little bridge down there. We're in Margate. We're in the old part of Margate, and this is where the OS map actually shows the river existing as permanent water. So we're going to go down there in a second and have a look at our first glimpse of the River Ver. But first, you just take a look through there between the trees. You might just be able to make out big old stately home. That's called Markyate Cell. It's built on the site of an old priory. One of the priories that Henry VIII got rid of in, I don't know, was it 15 something? That was one of the priories that he demolished. And on those foundations was built this building called Markyate Cell. And Henry VIII was very, very fond of a family called the Ferrers. They were staunch Protestants and they were very influential, so you know he was all good in their books. So he gave them this land and he gave them that mansion house to live in. And this Ferrers family, there was one of them called Catherine Ferrers, who's gone down in history as the Wicked Lady. She lost a lot of her fortune during the Civil War, and I think it was the Civil War. She lost her fortune and she turned to highway robbery. So let me show you, being right on the old Watling Street here, that's Watling Street just running along the top, the old Roman road. She used to get on her horse dressed as a bloke. She'd don a highwayman's garb and go out robbing people. And she's got some secret buried treasure knocking around here somewhere. There's a little rhyme attached to that. I'll give you that one in a minute. But ever since she died, when she was shot by a coachman when she was trying to rob him. She made it back here. So the legend says. History does suggest otherwise, but the legend says she made it back here, died on the doorstep, and ever since then her ghost has been terrorising people. There was a gamekeeper back in, I think it was about 1902, something like that. A gamekeeper saw her and fired his shotgun at her and she disappeared on the back of her horse. And more recently, in the 1960s, there was some sort of dinner party, garden party going on here, and apparently she came thundering through the garden party on her horse. Now I've got this written down somewhere. Where's this little rhyme? I might come back one day and see if I can find a fortune. Here we go. Near the cell there is a well. Near the well there is a tree, and under the tree the treasure be. Well, there could be any number of wells round here, couldn't there, considering all the water that's coming up out of the chalk. And as for trees, I might not be tempted to come looking for the treasure. Let's go and have a look at the water. There it is as it comes out of the grounds of Markyate Cell. The first easily accessible, viewable bit of flowing River Ver. Looks like they've culverted it under the grounds in there at some point. It comes out here in Markyate, and if we just cross over the road, come on Twinkle, good girl. There's the old Scout hut. Comes out in the grounds of the Scout hut. I like that they've marked it because it is very easy to miss. And here we go, it's flowing nicely here. That is actually looking quite a lot like a chalk stream should. A lot of the chalk streams are really badly damaged, and this one is in certain places. We'll get to a couple of those later on. But actually here, it looks like a reasonably healthy little chalk stream. Now you can see, actually let's have a, no, too much reflection. It is lovely and clear. You can see the bottom, you can see all the plants growing in there. It crosses just under the road there and over to the other side. Before I get back in the car and go a bit further downstream, we'll just quickly pop over there and see what it looks like on the other side of the road. And there she is, flowing off in the direction of the M1 and Redbourn, which is where I'm off to next. Now if you wander late at night in the lanes of Hertfordshire, the wind that's blowing in the trees will speak of dread and fear. If you hear the sound of hoofbeats, but no rider is in sight, beware, the wicked lady rides tonight. Sorry kids, no more ghost stories, that's it now. just coming out the back end of Markyate now. You can see where it's passed through the village and under a lot of the village, to be honest. You don't see very much of it at all in Markyate. And it comes out on the other side and passes through this field. Still very small, probably only about 1.5 meters wide. And then off down there through the pig farm. We're going to have a quick look at where it passes under the M1 motorway, because that's one of the areas where it's not allowed to be a chalk stream. It's been incorporated with farmers' ditches and bad ploughing and all the rest of it. It all becomes a bit of a quagmire down there. We'll go and have a quick look at that, and then we're off to Redbourn for a guided tour of a spring by somebody very special who you'll meet soon. This is the first of a couple of fords that we'll see today. This is River Hill between Markyate and Flamstead. Splish splosh. And in there, that's a commercial tree nursery called Majestic Trees. Very famous, you know, well regarded for their trees. And this runs right through the middle of their site, which must be extremely handy for them. This is the bit where it all looks a little bit sorry for itself. We're right next to the M1. You might just about be able to see the traffic going by up there, right next to junction 9 of the M1. Cheers, mate. And there's a truck stop. And a very bedraggled looking chalk stream. And look at these poor old cottages, look. The River Ver is actually coming just down the side there. You might be able to see it behind the fencing. I don't know what's going to happen to these cottages. They've been in this state for years and years and years. It's a real shame. I bet they looked lovely a few decades ago. And here they are now, stuck between a truck stop, a shameful looking stretch of the River Ver, and the M1 motorway sneering down on them. Right, we're going to Redbourn. We're going to go and see a really lovely bit of the river and get a special guided tour. Now, isn't that nicer? We're in Redbourn now, in my sister's back garden. Yeah, some people have nicer gardens than others, don't they? And here's our river, the River Ver. Really looking like a little river now, and looking a lot like a chalk stream as well. It's not particularly clear, but then by this stage you see it's run through so many fields and roadsides and all the rest of it. It's not quite as sparkly as you get at the source. And somewhere, I don't know exactly where, but I'm told somewhere out here there's a spring that bubbles up. You can see the bubbles rising to the surface. I don't know exactly where, but we've got somebody coming along in a minute to show us. A local expert. She'll show us what we're looking for. Whose little welly prints could these be, I wonder? Okay, there's a spanner in the works. Somebody just jumped in and tried to swim. Twinkle, we've got loads to do yet and you're soaked. I'm going to be better off taking your coat off, aren't I, so you can dry out. You silly little mutt. Now, I've got a local expert who's going to show us where there's some springs. I've heard that there's some springs around here somewhere. Lorna? Hello, Lorna. Are you going to show me the bubbles? Where are the bubbles? Are they down here somewhere? I think I can see them. I think I can see them. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up though. There. Can you see that shifting sand and the bubbles? That's a spring that's coming up underneath the existing river. And there's another little one just over there that we'll have a look at in a second. And there's water bubbling up here as well. You can see little bubbles and squelches coming up through the mud. And it starts flowing off there into the river. Just a tiny bit downstream from my sister, it comes around the back of the pub. I think it's the Checkers, really nice old thatched pub. Comes along the back of the pub here. That's headed back towards Redbourn. I think, yeah, there we go, there's more hens down there as well. How's the river looking here? Pretty good, actually. That is looking properly like a chalk stream. Stones at the bottom, clear water. What I think might be tons of watercress growing along the edges. Here, it's looking pretty good. Not a bad little chalk stream. And then off in this direction, that's going to take us down to the mill. Redbournbury Mill, where we're going to stop next. Just passing by another ford here, just on the way to the mill. Nice fast flowing ford, still good clear healthy looking water at this point. There's quite a lot of water over in that direction. It seems to branch off into a couple of different tributaries, not tributaries, a couple of different branches. Come on, Twinkle, let's have a look at the mill over here. It's a shame we can't get quite close enough to see the, I mean, they're going to have sluice gates and weirs and stuff going on up there to hold or divert the water for the water wheel. And I can see how clear the water is up the top there. It's a shame they're not open today. But we can get close enough to have a little look at the water wheel. Come on, Twinkle. They reckon that there's been a mill here since, it was in the Doomsday Book, 1086 I think it is. But since before that, there is a record of an old Saxon warlord or local chief, whatever he was, who handed over this land to St Albans Abbey in, I think it was 1030. Now this bloke, his name, I can't remember exactly what it was. His Christian name was something like Aethelwulf. You know, a very Saxon sounding name. I am Aethelwulf, Chief of Redbourn. But his surname was Le Swart, which sounds very French. So that's an interesting name. In 1030, this was 36 years before William the Conqueror came over. Guillaume Batard. 36 years before he came over. Yet this local Saxon landowner, so his surname was Le Swart. Very French sounding, so that's interesting. Aethelwulf Le Swart. Right, there's the wheel. Obviously the water's not been diverted to turn the wheel today. It's all just sitting quietly. There are times when you can come here and go inside and have a look, which I'm going to do. I really was hoping that the bakery might be open, but it's not. They've got a bakery here. You can buy their own bread, their own. They're doing things at the moment called Alban buns. Alban being St Albans, the city just over the other side of the field there. Alban buns, which were the precursors to hot cross buns that we all buy every Easter. Apparently there was a monk over at the Abbey who every Good Friday he'd bake these sweet buns and hand them out to the poor people. And that's supposedly where hot cross buns came from. They're very similar, they're not quite the same. I looked at the recipe and they've got cardamom and stuff in them, which, stop pulling Twinkle. They've got cardamom and stuff in them, which obviously you don't get in your average Tesco hot cross bun these days. I was hoping to be able to buy some and try them, but I think I'll have to get my sister to pop over when they're open. Right, there's the mill. A few public footpaths around here. So plenty of places to come back and explore in better weather. And I think I'm pretty much going to leave. Now let's just go and get a closing shot. An almost closing shot. There's one more place I want to try and go, just to get a view. There's nothing to tell you about when I get there, just want to give you a view. Let's get a nice closing shot from the mill. There we go. That now heads off towards St Albans and Verulamium Park. That's something to talk about, actually. Let's go and see if I can find a vantage point before we finish, and I'll tell you about the plans that they've got for Verulamium Park. Very good plans which will improve the river immensely and turn it back to something resembling a chalk stream, because down there in the park it's ornamental gardens, concrete canals. Doesn't do the river any good at all. Let's go and see what we can find. Hopefully there'll be a good viewpoint. That's St Albans Abbey over there on the horizon. And this is pretty much the view I was hoping to be able to get, just to finish the video on. Over there to the east is St Albans, the city, the old Roman city. And down there, just the other side of the road, is where the River Ver flows into St Albans and joins the Roman Park, the old city walls. Now through there in the Victorian times, somebody had the bright idea of turning it into ornamental gardens. It's all in concrete channels and big ornamental pools, and it's really not a natural stream at all. But I just found out recently that the St Albans Council are going to rewild the river as it goes through the park and make it much more suitable for wildlife. They're going to get rid of all of the concrete banks. They're going to let it flood. They're going to have proper verges and edges where all of the biodiversity can grow and live. I'm going to go and see that when it's done. It'll be well worth seeing, and I'm glad to see that that's being done, because these chalk streams, there's less than 200 of them in the whole world, in the entire world, and the vast majority, except for a handful of them in France and Germany, are here in the UK. Now you've seen, back at where we were at the M1, the sort of state that these streams can get into. And if you were to go and see how it's been butchered in the ornamental gardens, over there actually, I think, they're in that direction. How it's been butchered over there, I'm so pleased that they're putting it back to nature and how it should be. Right, I hope you enjoyed that. The River Ver, after it's passed through St Albans, it flows down past the west of London, where it eventually joins up with the River Colne. And the River Colne then goes and joins with the River Thames. Now, I'm fully aware that were I to follow the River Ver any further than St Albans, down towards where it joins the River Colne, I'm going to be stepping into somebody else's territory. Somebody who watches these videos and probably knows a particular section of the River Ver very well indeed. No, that's fine, go on. Yeah, there's a certain somebody. Yeah, I know, yeah. We're lucky to live around here, aren't we? Yeah, I'd love to be here 12,000 years ago. Right, what was I saying? Yes, there's somebody watching these videos who I'm pretty sure, knows a certain stretch of the River Ver extremely well. I won't say any more than that, just in case they don't want to comment on that fact. Right, again, hope you enjoyed it. We've got the River Gade coming up at some point. It's another chalk stream. which runs from Gadsden. Is it Gadsden it starts? No, I think it's actually Dagnall. Between Dagnall and Gadsden. That also runs down to the River. It goes via Hemel Hempstead. It's another chalk stream, very similar to the one we've just seen. Doesn't run through my sister's garden, but we'll be looking at that one soon. Right, take care all. See you later. Hello? Can I come in? Who's home? Hello, Lorna.